Hello, welcome back to my Good Enough Mum page. And today what I thought I'd talk about is why it's difficult to talk about some things, particularly as this Thursday is Time to Talk Day, where we're encouraged to actually talk about mental health. When I was thinking about this talk, it's so easy to think that mental health is something that maybe is something we don't come across very often, people who are really not very well with their mental health. But I think actually mental health is something that affects all of us, and we're all either mentally healthy or somewhere further along the scale where we're not feeling terribly well mentally, but we don't really talk about it. And I think to normalise it would be really helpful for people, so that we can talk more openly about what life is really like for us as individuals. Something I was listening to this morning on my Headspace app was talking about how really we're all in this together. When we're in traffic, it's so easy to think, well, look at all these people causing a traffic jam, without actually thinking, yes, I'm part of the cause of the traffic jam. When we're all trying to do the same thing, I was thinking about Christmas when I was in Asda and there were just hundreds of people queuing for the tills and trying to get their goods for Christmas. It's so easy to think, what are all these people doing here when I'm trying to do my shopping? And of course, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to do our Christmas shopping. We're all part of the same endeavour. But it's very easy to separate ourselves out from other people. And I think the same can be true when we're thinking about mental health, is to think that it happens to somebody else. Whereas, of course, we all have challenges to our mental health, and it can be things like feeling anxious or feeling depressed, or perhaps drinking more than we should, or perhaps overindulging ourselves, eating wise. There's all sorts of things that we do in a way to serve our needs for mental health, but perhaps those ways that we do it aren't always healthy. But how can we talk about it? Something that's really struck me was something I heard this morning. I'm listening to a live feed, a conference on working with children. And one of the things it said that really, really struck me is about we have to trust when we talk about something that's difficult, that the listener will be kind to us. And that is a real act of trust, I think. And I think that's why it's so difficult to talk about things, because we don't know what sort of reception we're going to get. And so talking about difficult things, it might be that we can only think about talking to someone who is a very close friend. And even then, we don't know how our conversation and our revelations about ourselves might be received. And that makes it really difficult to talk. And part of what happens, I think, is because nobody talks about the difficulties, it becomes almost accepted that those difficulties don't exist, or that somehow if we are encountering a difficulty, that there's something wrong with us because somehow we don't fit in with the rest of society, because we look around us and we think that everybody else is doing just fine. But I'm in that very privileged position because I'm a counsellor, that I do get to hear a lot of stories and a lot of people coming to me and telling me that in actual fact they are struggling with life, and these are just normal, ordinary people. And a lot of what I do is helping people to realise that this is actually part of what happens to us. We all struggle in various ways, and we all have different challenges that we have to meet, but nevertheless we all have difficulties, and sometimes they're not very easy. There isn't an easy answer, and we have to struggle on and we have to go through the difficulties. But the problem is often we find it very, very hard to be confronted with difficulties, and we try and escape from them. And it's very hard to feel pain, and it's very hard if we're somebody who's listening to someone else to feel their pain as well, and we find it overwhelming, especially if we haven't got very good ways of dealing with pain. And so not only is it difficult to talk, I think it's also difficult to listen. It's really difficult to truly listen to someone's pain and not to rush in and try and help them feel better. And personally, I found it very difficult if I've tried to share something and someone's tried to make me feel better. Well, at least they'll say, at least it's like this, or other people have found that they've found this particular thing has helped. And that's all very well for other people, but if it's you, sometimes all that does is it induces a feeling of shame in you, because you think, oh, well, you know, I should be coping, other people cope better. Well, at least, you know, this hasn't happened to me, so who am I to complain about what is happening to me? And it sort of acts as a stopper in a bottle. You just feel that you can't continue to talk about whatever it was that you wanted to share, because somehow you feel that you're different and unacceptable to others because of the feelings that you've got. The fact is your feelings are your feelings. They are there, and they're there for a reason. And it doesn't matter what anybody else is thinking, they're your feelings. And you're the only one with your unique history. And perhaps other people can cope better. Perhaps they've got better support, or they've had better support when they were younger. They were very lucky to have adults around them who were able to help them to learn to tolerate anxiety and distress. But for a lot of us, we perhaps didn't have that learning. And we do find it difficult to tolerate anxiety or sadness. And so it's hard for us. It's both hard for us to talk, and it's also hard for us to listen. But if we can try and just help ourselves, be kind to ourselves in allowing ourselves to be whoever we are, with pleasant or unpleasant feelings, if we're able to allow ourselves to be that person, I think that also enables us to listen to other people as well. And so I think the time to talk is actually a really important concept, because it begins to break down the shame as more and more people come forward and say, this is the way I feel, and more people are honest. Then I think it gives everybody else the permission to be honest and say, me too. And I think ultimately that's going to help us to be kinder to ourselves and kinder to others. So it is really helpful to talk. That's what I wanted to share today. And just to let you know that I do have availability in my counselling slots. So if you would like to have a chance to talk, I will do my best to listen to you and enable you to talk about what's really troubling you. And that's what counselling really is. It's a chance to let you talk. It's a chance to have someone who will listen to you and won't judge you, who won't try and make you feel better and in the process make you feel bad about what you're feeling. It's about truly listening so that you can have a chance to express what's going on for you and learn ways in which you can tolerate the anxiety and distress that you feel. So please do feel free to contact me. You can contact me via my Facebook page, or you can email me at any of my many email addresses, but you can email me at jo@talk2jo.co.uk, and the number 2 is there, talk to Jo. It's the number 2. I'll put it in the comments section so you can see. It is all confidential when I receive emails. No one else will see them. So if you'd like to talk to me, please do get in touch. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.